Hey, welcome to Kitchen All Over the World. On today's episode, I'm going to try to make Beshbarmak from Kazakhstan. Join me. So this is a meat and noodle dish, and so in this case, I've got about a kilo of lamb chops, arm chops. Slightly more traditional, I guess, would be horse meat, but here in the States, we don't really have access to that, nor am I sure whether or not I would want to try that. I guess eventually, if I ever go to Kazakhstan, I'll partake, but I'm not going to go out of my way to get that stuff. So I'm going to spread these out a little bit, and we want to cover this up with water. Now we're going to want to get a decent amount of stock out of this. So I'm going to start with probably about 2 liters of water, and as it starts to reduce, I will add more water as we go. So let's turn on the heat to high. We're going to bring this to a boil. All right, now that we're boiling, I'm going to reduce the heat to a simmer, and I'm going to skim off all this grossness. It's basically rendered blood, which we don't want to eat. Got a few bay leaves here I'm gonna throw in. And I'm gonna throw a lid on this for a couple of hours. So it's been about 2 hours now, so I'm gonna remove it from the heat and let it cool down. At the same time, I'm gonna reserve about 600 milliliters, half a liter of the stock for the sauce that we're going to make. So we're going to go ahead and bring that to a boil, and we're going to simmer it for 20 minutes. I'm going to grab 300 more milliliters of the stock. We're going to use this to make our noodles. So onto the noodles. I have 300 grams, or about 2 cups of flour, in this case bread flour, but you can use all-purpose, does not matter. Be sure to spill some out of the bowl. To that we're going to add a couple of, make sure that's the salt side, not the pepper side. A little bit of salt in there, that's good. Give that a little shake to incorporate. And I've got an egg. Spill some on the counter and put the rest in the bowl. Now take your hand and start to mix that up a little bit. And then I've got, it was actually 100 milliliters, not 300. And we're gonna add that stock into there. Just start mixing that all up until you get a dough. All right, starting to form into a ball. I'm gonna wrap it in some plastic wrap. And let's let it rest at room temperature for 20 minutes. So while the stock is boiling away in the background, I've got a pan on medium-high heat. Throw a little oil in there. And I've got a few cloves of garlic, 4 or 5. And 2 medium onions that I cut into semicircles. Dump those in, and we're gonna sweat these until they are translucent. Let's go ahead and add some salt and pepper. And I'm gonna add the reduced stock into the onions. Get those all mixed in a little bit and reduced a little bit more. All right, so now that the onions are cooked through, and you can see the sauce is reduced quite a bit, there's a lot of It's a lot less clear, a lot more cloudy. We're gonna take that off the heat and let it cool down a little bit. And since our lamb chops have cooled down quite a bit, easy to touch, we're going to take the lamb out of the broth, because we're actually going to take one bowl full of this stuff, because this is going to be a soup, but we're also going to use whatever remains in our pasta as pasta water. So, I've got a good soup bowl full, and then let's dump the rest of this back into the same pot we're using, same pots. And then we're going to bring it to a boil so that we can boil our noodles. So I've got my pasta roller here. If you don't have one of these, you can use a rolling pin. We're going for about 1 millimeter thick or so. And I've got my ball of dough right here. So grab some flour so this doesn't stick. Just coat the outside. So that was at the widest setting, so right now it's about 3 or 4 millimeters thick. And I'm gonna cut that in half and feed it through at one setting smaller. And you want to do this gradually so that it doesn't just break apart. It's looking amazing. I could make some ravioli right now if I had the fixins. And these guys, we want to be in like 5 by 8 centimeter rectangles. These are sticking a little bit. Be sure to keep your flour handy so you can continue to dust these. So, all right, we're at rolling boil, so I'm going to add in my pasta. And since it's raw pasta rather than, dried pasta, we're going to only leave it in there for a few minutes until it is totally cooked. It takes a lot less time. All right, so Beshbarmak means 5 fingers in Turkic languages: Turkish, Kazakh, Uzbek, Turkmen, I think, all those. Anyway, let's try it out and see how it is. I think it's pretty much what you'd expect if you think of the ingredients separately and then add them together. It's noodles and lamb and onions and garlic. It's good, it's all those flavors are good flavors. It's interesting having lamb with noodles. It's not really something that I normally think of right off the bat, and the fact that it's like plain lamb, just boiled lamb, so it's really just lamb flavor, no sauce, no nothing. I mean, the onion sauce is a reduction of lamb stock, so that's lamb on top of lamb. The onions lend a little bit of the flavor. It's nothing unexpected, and I guess, looking at the recipe, you could kind of assume that from the process, right? There's nothing random being thrown into the works. Yeah, so if you like lamb and you like noodles, then this is a good dish to have, although I would say that 2 hours of boiling lamb is a little bit excessive. Maybe roast some lamb real quick, fry up some lamb chops. Something that doesn't take 2 hours. That's just me though, lamb, 2 hours for lamb, I don't know. Then we got this soup. wouldn't really call it a soup. It's more of a broth. But you've heard of hot ham water? That's hot lamb water. It's just the broth that the lamb was cooked in. Probably good as a foundation to a soup. Add some vegetables in there and some other stuff. But yeah, I wouldn't have that on its own. Nothing special.